Welcome, everyone, to the School of Radiance podcast. I'm your host, a humble human on a mission, here to help you both look and feel your best. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about body composition. What can we do to lean our physique and sculpt our physique? What are some of the free things that we can be doing at home? What are some of the things that we can adjust in our lifestyle and our daily living practices? And also, what are some of the technologies that are available to us these days to actually put on more muscle in the clinic and actually stimulate muscle growth? And also kill fat cells. What options are available and technologies that actually work? And I'm also going to be talking about some of the gimmicks and things that are definitely going to be saving you oodles of time and money. That's really kind of one of my things here, one of my shticks is saving you time and money, because in the medical aesthetics world, the rejuvenation, the beauty world, there are gimmicks, gadgets, and fads everywhere. And one of my missions as a double board certified aesthetic nurse specialist is to really elevate patient-centered care and the medical aesthetics industry in general through training, through publishing papers. I'm actually about to start a paper for the American Medical Dermatology Journal. They reached out to me to write a paper on biomarkers for skin aging. So I'm very excited and honored to be publishing in that journal very soon. And I just have seen so many fads come and go in regards to technologies that claim to get rid of fat cells, to slim the thighs, slim the abdomen, the flanks, the arms, things like that, that are just total nonsense. They're not backed by research. And then there's also some really great things that we can do too. However, when it comes to before even considering spending sometimes tens of thousands of dollars on body contouring technologies in the clinic, which are fantastic. And don't be fooled, I've done just about everything under the sun to my body. And as a provider myself too, have used a lot of really great technologies. And over a couple of years, I was able to get my hands on pretty well most of the laser skin rejuvenation technologies and body contouring technologies as well. So I'm very familiar with the tech that's available. And I'm also quite familiar with some of the satisfaction or lack thereof in regards to certain technologies. So first of all, let's start with the basics before even considering going into the clinic, because really the technologies to put on muscle and kill fat are really for that last little bit of fat. You need to be doing some of the important legwork at home. And I take the same approach with your skincare routine. So really optimizing your basic skincare routine, which includes your cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen, and exfoliation. Then adding some more basic layers like peels, retinols, and serums, which I just did a lesson for in winter tutorials. And then also doing things like dermal rolling at home. So for those types of more tutorial-based content, you definitely want to join and secure your spot in my tutorial that's happening right now. These are live, raw, unedited, lots of great expert commentary, and I make the learning really fun. And if you can't attend the live sessions, then simply catch the replay at your convenience. And they're very fun. I've been doing them since about, I think, like 2018 is when I started doing the tutorials. And I won't put this stuff on YouTube. When it comes to putting on more muscle, so I'm going to be answering Sylvia. This is a great question because this is a live recording, actually. Sylvia, interested in putting more muscle on? Yes, that has been my goal for the year of 2024. How can I put as much muscle on as possible? Because having more muscle on our bodies has had a lot of recent highlights, if you will, in the biohacking, the anti-aging, and the longevity space. Now, why is that? The more muscle we have, the kind of faster our metabolism is going to be operating. We're going to be burning fat more effectively. But also, say, for example, goodness forbid, you fall and break your hip. You need to have this muscle on your body so that you don't waste away. Muscle does help to strengthen your bones. That's what skeletal muscle does. When we're lifting weights and putting them back down, essentially that's what we're doing in the gym, we are actually strengthening our bones as well. And I feel so much better now that I have quite a bit of lean muscle on my body. So how did I do that? First of all, you really want to look at reducing oxidative stress in your life, which is what I preach from the mountaintops here on the School of Radiance podcast, and what I wrote about in my research article titled Oxidative Stress Status and Its Impacts on Skin Aging. You can actually find all of my research, well, some of it, over at theschoolofradiance.com/research. Some of my papers are open source, meaning anyone can read them. If you don't have a subscription to the journals that I'm published in, you can at least read the abstract. But essentially what we want to do is clear out toxins first, okay? We want to clear out toxins from our environment, air, water, lighting, electromagnetics, and start to eat the right foods. Starting to eat the right foods, I would say, is really step one to you creating the body composition of your dreams. Because if you are eating the wrong foods, say you're still eating lots of kale and lots of tomatoes and lots of potatoes and things that just simply aren't actually adding to nutrients in your body, you're actually setting a stage for having anti-nutrients in your body that are actually going to pull minerals and create inflammation and oxidative stress in your body. So if you head on over to theschoolofradiance.com, go to my biohacking page, you're going to see a gut test kit called Viome. Viome. There's a promo code there and a special link to save you some money. Start with the gut intelligence test kit. This is a stool sample, and it's going to give you a snapshot as to what's going on in your gut right now, and also give you very specific recommendations as to how to eat to support your body and your gut based on how you are actually processing different things. It's going to give you a list of your superfoods, enjoy, minimize, and also flat out avoid foods. So I would say this is one of the most cost-effective options. It's about $300. The little test kit gets sent to your home, and you go to the restroom and you basically take a scoop of your stool, put it in a container, and send it off to their lab for analysis. And then they give you a very easy to follow outline as to which foods you should be consuming more of and or less of. That's where I would start. Forget about this food elimination diet. Forget about what these trendy diets are. Many of you know I'm primarily carnivore based. I don't do anything to an extreme. However, I really have ramped up my protein. So that's going to give you really succinct information as to what sources of protein are going to be ideal for you. You can also then retest at about 6 months to a year and see if your food recommendations have shifted, which they likely have because you have optimized your gut microbiome more, which is fantastic. The other component here is I want you to do that first and then get into purifying your air, water, reducing exposure to electromagnetic frequencies. I want you to do all that stuff first. Start eating the right foods before detoxing. What we accomplish through detoxing is then further clearing out things like yeast, fungi, mold, heavy metals, and parasites. And I'll never forget the first time I did a parasite cleanse. A couple weeks afterwards, I didn't know how good I could feel. And I felt like this extra puffiness and weight just melted off of me. That's a little bit more of an advanced layer. That's something that I'll get into more with my one-on-one clients and also in the membership with some strategies to clear out those things, specifically parasites. And 80% of you listening have parasites. They can live in your body for up to 30 years. And when I remember when I was getting my nursing degree, we had one page in all of the textbooks that I had on parasites. And, it only occurred if you visited third world countries. This is not the case. And in my research, when I wrote my paper on oxidative stress status and its impacts on skin aging, I did quite a bit of research on the topic of parasitology. And that's how I learned from parasitologists about this linkage from just residual inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, because the parasites will kind of pull from your nutrients so your body isn't getting them because they want to feed themselves. And they can really impact your brain. They can actually be in your brain and in your central nervous system. I know that might sound a little disturbing, but these are some things to then do after you've reduced your oxidative stress status and have cleared out and emptied your oxidative stress status or your toxic bucket as much as possible. And you can take things, you can use frequency to help clear out parasites. You can do a fast. As many of you know, I also did about a week-long fast in the desert at altitude. And what was cool about that is that it showed metabolic flexibility. And a lot of us have a metabolic dysfunction without really realizing it. So we really just want to give our body the best chance possible to have an optimized metabolism. Doing that fast in the desert at altitude, in my conversations with other nutrition and gut experts, they were the ones that actually told me, you actually have a very flexible metabolism, and we want to be flexible. We want to be resilient. And one of the principles of longer lasting and deeper beauty, and of course, radiance, which is what we talk about here, is to be radiant. You want to be always ready and you want to be always resilient. And the resilient key piece is speaking to, when it comes to the body composition, your metabolic flexibility. The next component I want to talk about is making sure you're getting enough hydration. So to basically help the body flush out those toxins and feed and nourish your cells, you want to be drinking, for women, about 2 to 2.5 liters of purified water every day. And then for men, about 3 liters. And if you are exercising, which you should be, moving your body, you want to be increasing your water intake accordingly. Next up, you want to be making sure that you are giving your body enough salt. We've heard over the years to reduce sodium, low sodium diet for cardiovascular health. That information I found in another paper that I wrote on nutrition in the skin is not as clear cut as we thought. So one of the ways that I look at my sodium intake is if I'm eating something and it's not salty enough, then I'll add more salt. Or if it seems really salty, then I know that my body already has enough salt. So your taste buds will, in a way, kind of guide you as to making sure you're getting enough salt. I really like the Redmond's salt. You want to be using I would say more of a salt from a single source salt mine. So I really like the Redmond salt because it comes from a single source salt mine in Utah. And some of the pink Himalayan salts out there, they're actually tainted with heavy metals, and they're from multiple salt mines. So we want to consider the purity of things that we're putting in our body. We also need cofactors in order to support our cells and our metabolism to function optimally. And those include things like magnesium and zinc and iron and all sorts of different vitamins that you've probably heard about. We want to have these in our diets to support our cells to behave the way that they want to behave. So we're essentially laying the foundation for our body to operate in the way that it wants to operate and not be deficient in things. Because what deficiencies cause downstream is dis-ease. Okay? That's really at the base of when things go wrong. It's typically because we're deficient in something or we're overburdened by something like yeast, fungi, mold, heavy metal, parasites, and an elevated amount of oxidative stress in the body. The other thing here is we really want to keep our stress levels down. We want to keep cortisol down. You've probably heard of the cortisol face. So puffiness to the facial area. That's why when you look at a woman and she's happy, she's in a great relationship, her life is going well, her face will actually slim down. And if we're stressed out, we're probably grinding our teeth, we're clenching our jaw, and then the masseters get wider too. These are some of the telltale signs, if you look at yourself in the mirror, that you might actually be under a little bit more stress than you might want to admit. And how we can reduce stress in our daily lives is actually primarily by our outlook and our mindset. Focusing on being in a high vibe state is going to include focusing on love and being in gratitude. Nobody wants to be around a negative Nancy. We want to be around positive Patties. And yes, there's always things happening in the world, but really they're out of our control. You can pray and just do your part by being a good person in the world, whether that's in your personal or your professional capacity. You have the ability to create a positive and peaceful environment in your home by how you move and how you speak. And I teach a lot of these practices of really the presence of radiance in the membership. Not so much here on the show because there are some deeper layers and aspects to the way that we speak, our mindset, the way that we move, gestures, etiquette, all of these things, negotiation, communication, personality archetypes, attachment styles. These are all useful tools and information to help you navigate life and keep your head on straight and maintain this peaceful demeanor to you. But if you are going through life and you're frantic, you are constantly stressed out, you're watching the news all the time. I mean, okay, sure, be aware of what's happening in the world, not so much put your head in the sand. However, in the masculine and feminine dynamics, it's the women that really bring the peace, right? That's one of the main desires of men is peace, nutrition, and intimacy. It's actually very simple. And for women, what we desire from men is leadership and a high level of thinking and analytical skills, because that actually is what helps us as women remain calm. And for men, for them to remain calm. So the more calm and at peace we are, the more fun we're having, doing hobbies, doing things that make you feel happy. Why that's important is your cortisol is going to be decreased and you're not going to be in this high adrenaline state, which elevates cortisol and then depletes your collagen and elastin and stresses out your adrenals. So stress is key. When you are more relaxed, you will probably notice that in and of itself is going to slim out your face and your body's just going to be feeling better. You're likely going to be sleeping better. And one of the key components to putting on lean muscle is getting good sleep. So it's not just about following this fad diet. It's really just every single step of the day, you are doing things to create this environment in your life that is conducive to living longer, living better, and living a more peaceful, productive life, living your purpose. Okay. And what happens is when we have clarity on topics, I find that this brings peace. So it's my intention for this kind of like framework of body composition, laying the foundations, and then some of the different things that you might not be doing yet are going to be a little bit more, I would say, effective because you are mastering your mind, your emotions, the way that you move, the way that you engage in the world that I don't think enough people are talking about. Next up, I want to talk about nutrition. So I've been playing around with this for most of 2024. And what I found worked really well for me was consuming about 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per day per pound of body weight. So that is about 130 to 160 grams of protein a day. And you're probably thinking, oh, goodness gracious, it's hard for me to get 40 or 50 grams of protein a day. I'm going to give you some really easy tips to get more protein into your diet. We need protein. Protein and essential amino acids are the building blocks of your DNA, and our DNA is constantly replicating itself. It's really important for our skin and our collagen and elastin, and also just to have good energy. You need to be feeling, first of all, reduced oxidative stress on all fronts, both physical and non-physical. And then we want to be feeding and nourishing the skin, even before working out, even before electing to do some of these med spa procedures. You're going to essentially do the heavy lifting at home for maybe a couple months, and then what's left over, sure, then there are some rejuvenation options. So increasing your protein. Some easy ways that I do that is a scoop of protein in my AM coffee. So I'm starting the day off with about 20 grams of protein. Then what I'll also do is fry up about 4 eggs. And with eggs, you're getting about 3.5 to 4.5 grams of protein per egg. And I personally am not afraid of cholesterol. We actually need cholesterol to create hormones in our bodies. And it's that time of the month for me right now. And for a long time, I actually, specifically after clearing parasites and reducing oxidative stress, eating better and exercising more and lifting more heavy weights with resistance training, I don't really have PMS symptoms. I'm sure a couple days before my period, I can get like a little bit more in my head. I actually find I get really intuitive and very emotionally tuned in, but I don't really get cramps. If I do, they're very minimal. I do notice my energy levels go down a little bit. So really get tuned into your cycle. And if you are perimenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal, obviously that's going to be a little bit different, but just always listen to your body. The more pure you are, the more tuned in you are, the better able you're going to make decisions for, do you need to drink water? Are you hungry? Are your blood sugars low? Do you have this like extra energy that you need to expend by exercising and working out? Do you need to have more fun in your life? Are you having enough physical touch? And also figure out what your love languages are. Because oxytocin that we get from connection with others is also really great for balancing your hormones. It's great for your mind. It's also great for reducing stress. Because if you're really stressed out in your life and you're trying to do all these things to help you, you're not going to get the best results. You're going to get better results when you are in a more peaceful, grounded, and relaxed state. What you can snack on throughout the day is going to be dependent on what your Viome test says are really good things for you to eat. So for me, I have a ton of cottage cheese. I'll typically go through a container of cottage cheese every day or two. And in each container, there's about 90 grams of protein. Some dinner ideas are, I do stews with grass-fed beef chunks. I do a cauliflower crust pizza with ground bison or shredded chicken, and then 3 eggs on the shredded chicken pizza. And sometimes I'll even just do a simple protein bowl, which is ground beef or bison, a couple of eggs, like 2 or 3 eggs, a little bit of cottage cheese on top of that, and some salt. That's actually one of my favorite meals to have at dinner time. And you're probably listening to this be like, oh, where are you getting your sugar and your carb sources from? I have a number of spoonfuls of honey throughout the day. So I'm giving my body this easy to access glucose and glycogen so that my body isn't pulling it from my muscles. And I find that's great for my blood sugars. The other thing that I'll snack on are a couple of dates throughout the day too. One of the things that could be lending to feeling a little bit extra stressed out or anxious or jittery throughout the day is maybe you're fasting too much. So when you're hungry, eat something. If you feel like you feel pretty good and you want to do a bit of a longer fast or do a 24 to 48 hour fast or 36-hour fast, just simply tune into your body when you feel like your body wants that. And actually, after the holidays, I did just that. I did a 2-day fast. And what that does for me is it just stimulates autophagy. So when you're doing things like a cold plunge in the AM or like a cold shower in the AM, that's toning your nervous system. It's stimulating a little bit of autophagy to clear out senescent cells. And then in the sauna in the PM or a hot bath where you're sweating a little bit, you're also getting a little bit more of that autophagy, which is really helpful for your body to clear out excess toxins and cellular debris, because every time our body is going through these metabolic processes, it's creating waste. And we do need to get that out of the body. So that's why I love sauning. That's why I love sweating at the gym. And sometimes doing a 2-day fast every couple months or so. And I noticed that that's just like a great way to trim down a little bit. I do find personally that on day 2, I can feel just like a little bit more agitated. So I don't recommend doing a 2-day fast when you have a lot of things going on. Like the first time I did a 2-day fast, which was probably about 4 months ago now, I was actually at a church conference. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to tune in. I'm going to do a fast alongside this just to deplete my body so that I can get filled up. And then I did one after the holidays as well, because yes, I baked all my cookies and had some extra treats. I actually really was good about very minimal alcohol intake. If you are consuming alcohol, really reconsider your alcohol consumption. There really are no healthy benefits to having alcohol in your diet. So if you're wanting to trim down a little bit, reduce a little bit of excess fat and put on lean muscle, you want to be looking at everything you're eating as fueling your body. Working to get 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per body weight is going to be a little bit of an adjustment for most of you. I know it was for me. I felt like all I was eating all day long was protein. And before, I would have just salads for lunch and dinner, but then I was still hungry afterwards. I really wasn't eating enough protein. But once I started to make those nutritional shifts, I started to notice just from that alone, my body composition shift. This extra weight just left the body. And the next piece that I did was starting to work out again. And when you haven't worked out in a while, I do recommend maybe getting some personal training sessions in, but don't be afraid to lift heavy. Obviously, take into account if you have like shoulder injuries or hip injuries or knee injuries, you can work with the personal trainer to create a plan for you. But basically what I do is I'll go to the gym for anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours, about 5 to 6 days a week. And you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, like how do you have time for that? I actually really like to work out at the end of my workday. I just find it's such a great way to clear my mind. I get a little bit of a dopamine hit when I work out. And the way you want to position your workouts is not really doing like full body when you're working out. You want to focus on specific muscle groups. So say, for example, shoulders, biceps, triceps, back. I do abs pretty much every day with a couple of different machines, glutes, legs. You want to kind of separate the different body areas you're focusing on so that you're getting about 2 to 3 days of recovery between activating and kind of stressing out those different muscle groups. And when I first started to work out, I actually would do something called going to failure. And you've probably heard, oh, you should do about 12 reps or 20 reps of a weight. You should be getting to about 8 to 10 reps of the weight that you're using on the specific muscle group and pretty much failing. And then the last 1 or 2 reps, you're just kind of like really pushing through or simply going to failure. And then maybe doing about 3 sets. Now, this is kind of like this different concept that we've been hearing about of moving and working out to failure. And when it comes to our body's physiology and sport medicine, this is really what the research is showing us, and kinesiology, that we really do want to be stimulating our muscle groups in a way that we are going to failure. And that might sound a bit odd, like, oh, you want to like fail in your workouts? You actually do. And then what you'll find over time is you get stronger. If you're then able to do like 12 reps, that's an indication that, okay, maybe the next time you work out, you can increase your weight 5 to 10 pounds. But really get the foundations of how you're working out and get a plan with a personal trainer, and just make sure that you have good form, because you don't want to be hurting yourself and recruiting muscle groups that you don't want to be recruiting when you're wanting to focus on certain muscle groups. So working with a professional is definitely something that I can recommend if you're new to working out. But also, if you've been working out for a while, it can be a good way to get you out of a bit of a rut. But I'm kind of leading you through my journey, because I had to take like 3 years off of working out. And it was really frustrating for me because anytime I would lift a weight or do something new, my neck would hurt. I'd have headaches. It was just not fun after the 2 car crashes. And then I decided, you know what? I really got to get muscle on to support my spine and my ribs. And this is also a key component to longevity, is having more muscle. I got to do this. This is time. I feel like my body can handle it. So when I go to the gym and I move my body and I'm in my body, I just feel so good. Working out, I find, just gives me this like peaceful grounding. And also I have lots of fun seeing my friends and fellow gym rats as well. You get a little bit of the oxytocin, the bonding hormone, a little bit of dopamine. You're kind of having fun. You're pushing yourself. And then after about a month of, you're dialing in your nutrition first, you're making sure you're getting enough sleep, you're reducing stress in your life on all fronts, you're getting that protein in, you start to then lift weights. After about a month, you should start to see some more muscle being built and more definition. You might even start to notice some more energy throughout the day and just a little bit more, I would say, mental clarity. But there's nothing better than putting on your clothes and your clothes are fitting better. So you really want to lay the foundation for your physical fitness with strength training and also including cardiovascular training. So for cardio, I like to either work with the assault bike or do wind sprints. And I'll actually do about 8 to 10 rounds of 20 seconds on, 20 to 40 seconds off of sprinting. And this is a little bit more high level athleticism for cardio. But what the research does show, and it just feels really good for me, I get kind of like the runner high, if you will. I'm like a gazelle at the gym, apparently. But walking on an incline for about 20 to 30 minutes a couple times a week is actually what the research shows to being a good form of cardiovascular training. This could also include going for walks after your meals. So say, for example, you have a lunch or you have a dinner, you do a 10-minute walk after each meal. There's your 20 minutes of walking. You don't have to be necessarily sweating it out for an hour at a time, a couple times a week at doing certain classes. It's not about getting a ton of cardio. What we're actually finding more important for putting on lean muscle is actually lifting heavy to failure. And I'll be the first to tell you, it has totally transformed my body. I'm about 3 or 4 months in of training again. And I was training quite a bit before as well, with previous partner being a professional athlete. So I knew how to work out. But then I started to look at the research on how to work out more efficiently and actually put on more muscle, because that for 2024 was my goal, which I achieved. I also grew up with not really having a curvy backside, to put it plainly. And so one of my goals was actually to develop my glutes, to have that beautiful shape to me, and also have more definition and width to my shoulders, which can actually give a little bit more of a curvy look to the body. Sometimes people think, oh, as a woman, if I work out, I put on too much muscle, I'm going to look manly. This isn't the case. Maybe when you're at the gym and you have what's called a pump from all the blood flow in your muscles, sure, you're going to look a little bit extra strong. However, once that pump kind of fades and you are working out in a way that's really sculpting your body, so getting on your shoulder mass, glutes, toning those abs. I typically work abs almost every day I'm at the gym. This is going to just give you more curves to the body. I don't do so much oblique work, like side crunches and things like that, because I don't really want to add width to my waist. I want a desire to have a bit of like a narrower waist. When you reduce inflammation and you reduce parasites, you're also going to be helping to reduce excess bloat to your abdomen. So say, for example, you pinch your stomach, and you might be pinching your stomach. You're like, oh, it's kind of like firm behind the fat and the skin. You could, unfortunately, have a lot of fat around your organs. And whatever you do in the clinic, say for killing fat cells, which some technologies can do with hot or cold and ultrasound and radio frequency and things like that, it's not going to touch that. The visceral fat around your organs is the worst kind of fat. It puts pressure on your organs. And when you just take the time, like it's going to take time for you to get the body of your dreams through being consistent, through being diligent and looking at food differently. It's like, okay, how many nutrients, like what's the nutrient value of this for me? So for example, if you're thinking, oh, eating a lot of protein is probably going to be really expensive, I would actually say the opposite. I would say that I spend less money on food because I'm not buying as much crackers. I'm not buying as much noodles or prepackaged foods or processed foods. I'm not eating out as much. I actually am spending less on food, but when I go to the store, I'm making sure that in my basket I have bison, I have chicken, I have salmon once a week, by the way. Lots of eggs, cottage cheese, grass-fed butter, and I'm cooking with grass-fed butter and ghee in cast iron pans, not using aluminum baking sheets either. I actually have cast iron baking sheets, and on the other side are grills, which is really cool. So again, just a little tip there for reducing toxins through your cookware, right? Cooking with stainless steel and cast iron pans. And it's just like these little things that you start to do in your daily routine are going to help reduce oxidative stress, and you're going to look better. Your skin will shine more and your eyes won't be as red or puffy or dark because you've reduced the amount of inflammation, oxidative stress, and toxins over time. The other key components to, in my opinion, consume are things like astaxanthin, creatine, NAD, a multivitamin, lots of protein, and antioxidants. There's other things that you can take as well, but that's really what the research is showing us as being some of the heavy hitters to just fuel our body so that our metabolism is operating properly, so that our body has all the cofactors it needs to make energy. And you've heard me talk about NAD from Qualia. I love that product because our NAD levels declined. So you can head over to qualialife.com. I believe it's /Rachel or /Varga. Use promo code Varga or Rachel. It's all on my biohacking page, but I'm a huge fan. If you are kind of low on the energy side of things, to add NAD into your routine. And some of the youngest people that I engage with, who are also fellow speakers in the health and wellness and biohacking space, we're all on NAD. And this is giving our cells the carrier to actually make more ATP in our mitochondria. So a lot of times a metabolic dysfunction or hormone imbalance can be related to the mitochondria not functioning as optimally as it wants. And an easy way to support your mitochondria is actually to consume NAD daily. And for me, I take my NAD earlier in the day because I find in the evening it can kind of get me a little bit like wound up, but I definitely do feel the energy shift from it. And then the other thing is to also consume daily adaptogens. They just support your adrenals. They help your body manage stress. Again, I mentioned resiliency and being metabolically flexible. So you've heard me talk about Organifi many times here on the show. And there's a reason for that. I've been on Organifi for years, and I get adaptogens through non-psychoactive mushrooms. And the Organifi products just taste incredible. And you can get them over at Organifi, spelt with an I.com /Varga. Use promo code Varga and save 20%. There's lots of different adaptogen formulas. I really like the Pure. It tastes like lemon, like a lemon honey drink, if you will. And I'm getting adaptogens that way. There's also the Glow formula for skin hydration. You're getting the tremella mushroom, which is also an adaptogen. It's also very hydrating to the skin, and they have lots of other formulations too, like a greens. So it is going to be a little bit different for you when you start to go to the grocery store and look at food for its nutrient value. How much protein is in this? When you are looking at your cart, are you buying filler carbohydrates, or are you buying more nutrient dense, protein rich foods? When I started, it was so interesting. Once I started to get the results from eating more protein, from exercising regularly after about a month. It's like now all my body craves is fueling it. Also, adding creatine made a huge difference for me. There's oodles of research on creatine for cognitive performance, for energy, for putting on muscle. And what we want to do is have about 4 grams a day of creatine. And I have a creatine recommendation coming very soon, don't you worry. But you've probably been hearing about, oh, creatine. I thought that was just for bodybuilders. No, there's so many beautiful mental cognitive benefits from creatine as well. And it does make a huge difference. So once you've done all that, just a couple of simple things, then you're looking after yourself day in and day out. You're fueling your body. You're getting enough sleep. You have a more peaceful life. You are at the gym. You're exercising. You're lifting those weights. Sorry to break it to you, walking your dog and gardening isn't going to cut it. You really do want to get that to failure resistance training at least 3 times a week. That's what the kinesiologists and the experts in that are saying, is you want to weight lift about 3 times a week, get your cardio in about 2-3 times a week. And again, cardio isn't 45 to an hour of sweating it out on the bike. It really is more like that 20-30 minutes walking at an incline. Just basically do cardio that you love. So pickleball, for example, you're kind of sprinting from one side of the court to the other, or tennis. Find something that's fun. It's actually ideal. If you look at caring for your body as like a fun thing for you to do, gets you out of the house, it gets you engaging with other people, maybe have a gym buddy, and form your community and your friends around people who are like-minded, people who are helping you be better, not, wanting to eat out and have lots of drinks together and just eat garbage food. Like, really look at actually who's in your social circle and how they're eating, how they're living. Really surround yourself with people who are also looking after themselves too, have those shared values. That's going to be, I would say, helpful for you to have the best success in all of this. And of course, this is not medical advice, educational information only. If you think you have a medical condition, you must seek the guidance of a licensed physician. Okay, now we're going to talk about medical aesthetics procedures. And a lot of times people will go into a clinic and say, oh, I have, this extra pinchable fat around my midsection and flanks and arms and outer thighs and inner thighs, underneath the chin. And they just want a quick fix. They're willing to fork out thousands or tens of thousands of dollars just to show up to somebody in a clinic and have them fix their life and their problems, because they feel like if they get rid of that last little bit, they're going to be happier. You're going to be happier with yourself and more proud of yourself when you are disciplined and you're making really good decisions in life to fuel your body, and you're also acting out of integrity. It's very important. So in the clinic, a couple of different options. In a one-on-one, I will get into specific suggestions that I think could be helpful for you and also help you find clinics near you that offer the best technologies. But in general, we have muscle stimulating technologies. I was actually on a call with Brandy from Austin Skin Wellness, because a number of you know that I teach a number of other medical aesthetics practitioners, nurses, physicians, their team members, clinic owners, to get themselves out there online so they attract the clients that they wish to serve, and how to market themselves and position themselves as an authority in the space. And this is one of my passions, to teach you all here on the show, kind of like the client. And then I also love to teach the clinician as well. So it's kind of like a bit of a 50-50 split with my work, with supporting you as the client and also with supporting the clinician behind the scenes with actually training for a number of these manufacturers of medical aesthetics technology, performing, writing research papers, and also speaking in group settings, in person and online, for fellow med spa providers and just really doing my best to contribute to elevating the industry so that you, likely listening as the client, gets the best care possible and you save time and money and all that cool stuff. But if you are a clinician, go to buildingyourbeautybrand.com and sign up for our next free training, buildingyourbeautybrand.com. And I'd love to meet you if you're tuning in here as a fellow med spa practitioner or clinic owner. So we basically have two things that we can do in the clinic. We can stimulate our muscle using basically electrical frequencies to make the muscle fire. It's electrical muscle stimulation, EMS basically. And it's kind of similar to lifting weights and putting things back down. Now, if you have an injury, like a shoulder injury, a knee injury, a hip injury, something that's limiting your ability to actually do that in the gym, I think that the component of doing EMS in a clinic setting, or even maybe getting some EMS technology in your home, I'll share some of that. I'm doing some research behind the scenes for at-home EMS technologies. So you can actually just put these paddles on your various muscle groups and target working that muscle. What's cool about EMS technology is that it's not straining your joints, which is brilliant. So I think it's such a cool solution. Brandy from Awesome Skin Wellness is actually going to be on the show soon as well. So we're going to do kind of a part 2 to this to talk about the technologies that are out there and a bit of a deeper dive. This is kind of part 1 of body composition enhancement, of really what to do first. And then part 2 is going to be a little bit more of what to do in the clinic. So we can stimulate the muscles, which is fantastic. But then if you want to put that muscle on, you need to be fueling yourself accordingly by having enough protein in your diet, by reducing inflammation as much as you can on all fronts. Really important. Otherwise, if you're paying thousands of dollars for electrical muscle stimulation, EMS, in the clinics, which cost thousands of dollars, you're wasting your money, because your muscle cells, even if you're not going to the gym to lift those weights, they still need that source of protein to fuel them. So I hope that makes sense, that I don't want you to be wasting your money. If you are wanting to put muscle on and you do have some type of mobility impairment, EMS could actually potentially be a great option, because it doesn't put strain on your joints to still get those get that hypertrophy or more tearing and stimulation and then building of your muscle. The other component is then for that last little bit that's resistant to diet and exercise. And I don't like to say diet. I like to say how you're living, how you're fueling your body, how you're nourishing your body. That last little bit that takes care of that like pinchable, stubborn fat, not the hard fat behind your abdominal wall that's around your organs, the visceral fat, really dangerous fat. That's going to take some time and some diligence with a lot of the things that I mentioned here to sort that out. The fat killing technology basically either uses hot or cold to signal the fat cell to die. When people are obese, they have this proliferation of adipocytes or fat cells. And when we gain weight, our fat cells get bigger, they expand. And when we lose weight, they get smaller, but we still have the same number of fat cells. So hot or cold technology can actually tell fat cells to die. And with certain kinds of technology, which we're going to do a part 2 on, we can get about a 20 to 24% reduction of the number of fat cells in a given treatment area, which is pretty cool. And I actually have done a lot of body contouring technology on my body over the years. As a practitioner, I've had access to anything and everything under the sun, so don't be fooled. But they're not perfect, right? You still need to do your foundations first, and then potentially using in-clinic options to take care of what's left over, which is, I think it's great. We live in a time where we can do these aesthetic elective treatments for not only the face, like our skincare, doing lasers, doing non-surgical injectables, maybe even doing some surgeries like eyelid surgery or facelifts or neck lifts or rhinoplasty. There's lots of different things available. And then also for the body, we can tone the muscle, we can help build the muscle, we can kill fat cells. And then of course, there's the surgical options too, which is liposuction and say like a body lift or a tummy tuck or surgery for the inner arm or the inner thighs, especially after there's been a lot of weight loss. Sometimes actually just removing that excess skin is going to do something that a non-surgical energy device in the clinic just can't do. So it really depends on your situation for being surgical or non-surgical in that category. So it just depends. But I did want to mention that. Okay, I'm going to get into some questions here. Jackie, what is effective? What treatments can distort? Well, stay tuned for part 2 because there are some really great technologies. We're going to talk about that with Brandy from Austin Skin Wellness. She's going to be a guest on the show. We're going to do a deep dive. In my experience, there's a lot of really effective technologies out there. And there's a lot that are not great and that are very what's called technician dependent. We are in the kind of the era of the lazy laser technician. So if, say, a treatment is just not placed right, or the temperature isn't brought up to the right temperature for the certain amount of time, you're not going to get the best results from it. There's so many different nuances with people having issues after body contouring technologies in the clinic that can be related to those different variables, and also the technology itself. And also there's a lot of counterfeit technology out there too. And what treatments can distort? Not everything is foolproof. There can absolutely be issues from anything. I can never say anything is completely safe and effective. I think it's completely unethical to be able to say that in the rejuvenation sense, because we're all bio-individualistic. We have various levels of inflammation, oxidative stress in our bodies. If there's autoimmune conditions, those are going to be the category of people who have higher rates of issues that you're going to find like on the message boards, like that have issues from injectables and things like that. They're more likely to experience that because their body isn't operating ideally. And that's why I actually wrote my oxidative stress status paper, to provide this awareness in the medical aesthetics community to just be more conscious of that. Sylvia, interested in putting more muscle on 100%. Strong is the new sexy. Sharisa, hey, I'm off camera. Just got in, checking my email. Forgot when this class was, so listening and attending. Just not camera ready. LOL. That's okay. It's great. Just tune in. Great to have you here. Welcome. Sylvia, can the areas where both knees would touch be contoured? Been told cool sculpting probably wouldn't work because the area appears to be mostly muscle. I mean, what are you going for? Are you going for kind of like stick legs, or do you just have like this little kind of bit? I know what you mean. What I would encourage you to do, Sylvia, is everything that I've talked about here in the show. And doing legs at the gym is like a pretty serious thing. You're doing your glutes, you're doing your quads, you're doing your hamstrings, you are doing your calves. And I would actually add maybe a little bit more of the diet and the physical fitness and just see how things go after a couple months. But there can be some things. Sylvia is your one-on-one client of mine, so book a follow-up with me, and I'll actually get into some like specific recommendations for you, because there are some options. Hey, Elizabeth, is the technology where it should be for voice? I'm not quite sure what you mean for that. Sylvia, what salt do you use? Redmond sea salt. Or Redmond salt is not sea salt. And she says, Sylvia says, sea salt has tested for microplastics. Yeah, I like salt mine sources. Sharisa, Colma salt is pure plastics and such, expensive but so good. Taste is different. Moist salt. Okay, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that, Sharisa. I haven't tried that one. Sylvia, saw Colima in MX Amazon is showing multiple Colima salt companies. Do not buy anything you're putting on or in your body from Amazon or eBay. You are opening yourself up for buying counterfeit products. Get it directly from the companies. Clearly, that's a pet peeve of mine. Sharisa, thank you. It's Kalima. Yeah, from their site. Perfect, exactly. Direct from distributor or an approved direct from manufacturer or an approved distributor, which I am on my Skin Shop for all the different products. Jackie, did your interest in eating protein come through your Viome test? No, it came through just me hearing over and over and over again in the longevity, anti-aging, and biohacking space that putting on lean muscle is one of the key indicators for living longer and longevity. Sylvia, love NAD and senolytic. Yeah, me too. So that's from Qualia, Qualia. Elizabeth, such great education. My pleasure. Sylvia, what about vibration plate use? That's going to be good for lymphatic drainage. Also, just getting a simple rebounder trampoline and jogging or running, moving your body at the gym. It's all going to help with lymphatic drainage. Elizabeth, what about PEMF? That's pulsed electromagnetic frequency. That will not stimulate your muscle. That will help ground your body's electromagnetics though. And I'm on my PEMF mat all the time. I like the higher dose or the bond charge PEMF options on my biohacking page. Sylvia, a little bit on the inside. Yeah, the visceral fat, you got to take care of that. Sylvia, too much ballet at a young age. We have to be very conscious. I'm so glad you brought this up of what we're doing. You want to be living by example, especially if you have kids, especially if you have daughters. I think that ballerinas look beautiful. However, the issue of eating disorders in the ballet community is very real. I walked runway a year and a half ago and I barely dieted and I fit in all the clothes. I just about fell over. I'm like, I'm a real person walking runway here next to professional LA Fashion Week models. That was kind of fun, but it just goes to show you, just reducing that oxidative stress and eating well can just set the stage. And then I started to put lean muscle on after that. So now my butt probably wouldn't fit in a lot of things. Okay. Oh, voice, Viome. That's what you meant. Okay, great. I love you all so much. This was a jam-packed episode here on the School of Radiance podcast. Basically, it was a brain dump. You will probably want to listen to this episode again. I gotta go. I have a one-on-one follow-up support call after this. I warmly invite you all to use promo code WELCOME15 to book your one-on-one. If you've already had your one-on-one with me, which I have opened up more times for, join my tutorials that are happening now over at theschoolofradiance.com. I'll teach you how to become your own skin pro through really fun expert tutorials that are focused on the specific season in 7 weeks. And then for the cherry on top is the membership stuff. It's really how to cultivate this beauty and radiance that will move with you well into your 80s and 90s, everybody. You can be beautiful. You can be gorgeous. You can have this beautiful, radiant aura to you well into your wise years. Okay. Beauty isn't just in a 20 or 30-year-old. Beauty is the way that you carry yourself. It's the confidence. It's you living your purpose. I love you all so much. This was such a fun episode for me to record for each and every one of you, share a little bit of some of my strategies and secrets. It's going to be different for everybody. We're all bio-individualistic. Just start to make good, positive changes and do things that are constructive, operate from integrity, and book your one-on-one for specific guidance. I'll give you some more. Total brain dump. Thanks, Rachel. Awesome as always. My pleasure. Love you all so much. Be beautiful, high vibe, radiant humans. Ladies, final thought here. Ladies, gentlemen. We all want balanced hormones. Guys, got to keep that testosterone up. Ladies, keep up with that body composition, especially with the shifts with perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause and weight gain. When you live life this way, it does this beautiful hormone balancing act for both the masculine and the feminine. Kind of cool, kind of neat. When you start to eat a little bit like a gym bro, you as women are going to feel better. When the guys start to eat like a gym bro, they're going to feel better because their testosterone is going to start to go up. So, you know this is happening when it starts to happening, and you'll thank me later. Love you all so much. I will see you again very soon right here on the School of Radiance podcast.